Hey folks, this is Matt Rainwater, and we're going to do a tarot reading in a little bit. I bought a new deck. This is one I got at a yard sale. Oh, the devil. I was helping some friends with a yard sale. They're planning on moving and about to move pretty soon. And one of my friends was selling her tarot deck. And I bought it because when you read tarot, after a while, if you're a particularly frequent reader, you become a bit of a collector over time. And so I was curious, bought it. Yesterday, when I had some spare time, I just tried troubleshooting it. What is this deck called? It's called the Wild Unknown Tarot. So I'm starting to amass quite a number of decks, actually. Probably too many. I mean, at a certain point, you don't really, you really just need the one. But I will say, different decks sort of bring out different vibes, different, I don't know, you kind of build different relationships with them over time. It's sort of like with people where it's some people, you build really romantic relationships with. Others you build really deep platonic, almost fraternal type relationships with. Others are maybe more intellectual, and others are more artistic, and it's different from person to person, right? There's no one size fits all relationship. And so it's the same way with tarot decks in a lot of ways. Some decks are better for romance readings, some are better for career readings, some are better for general readings. And so, I've been kind of troubleshooting this deck, getting an idea for it, getting a feel for it. Talking with my friend yesterday, as I was looking through the cards, oh yeah, the symbolism is a little bit obtuse. It's not quite as accessible as Rider-Waite. And y'all get an idea as we go into this reading, kind of what I mean. I feel like I looked through the book a little bit, and it seems like it's a bit inspired by Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot. So it's a little esoteric at times, but we'll get through it, right? I'll get us through it. So here is our first card. We're going to do a general reading, and we have, what is that? Mother of Pentacles, which is basically Queen of Pentacles, right? That's somebody who is a nurturer, caregiver. I mean, it's very evident, right, in the illustration here. People often talk about Queen of Pentacles as, this comes up a lot, actually, as a working mother, somebody who is very good at generating revenue, making money, but also good at taking care of the house, taking care of the home. This is a very domestic kind of card. So what we have going on for Mother of Pentacles. Six of Pentacles. This is a card of somebody, or not somebody, this is a card of an action, right? Of an event, a process. It being Pentacles, I want to lean towards process. Sort of as we see depicted here, this growth, right? This process of growing. But Six of Pentacles is about reciprocation, often. It's about equal give and take. It's about you give me something, I give you something. Does that make sense? So we'll see where we go with this reading as it builds out. Eight of Swords. This is a particularly unique Eight of Swords illustration, because Eight of Swords is usually about blind spots, mental traps, not being certain about like which way to go, feeling stuck. But in this illustration, we see this butterfly about to emerge from its chrysalis. So there's a big implication of it may be a mental trap right now, but this trap is really more of a cocoon, more of a place for you to develop something, build out something, transform. And that's actually really what I want to get at. What seems like a mental trap right now is a process that allows for transformation. So we've got 3 cards on the table right now. I'm still kind of figuring out what the spread is even. So as I read it right now, somebody who has really received and given a lot of nurturance. There is like this reciprocal, this like reciprocal parenting kind of nurturing relationship. But some aspect is leaving or creating, it's not a trap, it's just like I want to go back to this cocoon thing. Like there's barriers built around it. In the same way that like, when you're a parent, you kind of create mental traps for your children. You create mental borders for them because there are certain things they're just not ready to take in. Just aspects of the world that they're just not ready to take in because they're just very complex. You have to be a certain age to understand certain things in their fullest depth, right? Like, it's hard to talk about all the topics that come up with puberty until puberty. Up until then, you can kind of talk in vague terms. Like, I don't know, just for an example, my parents let me watch when I was like 5. They let me watch a Nova documentary that was about the whole process of, human reproduction, right? Like conception, all that entails, pregnancy, birth, in very explicit detail. And being a 5-year-old, I didn't understand what I was watching. Like, that documentary showed a live birth, and I didn't understand what I was seeing. Like, I was just like, I don't know. That's weird. What part of the body is that? What? There's just some things that, like, and honestly, there's some things you're never ready for, to be totally honest. You just get exposed to them when you get exposed to them. But going back to my initial point, right, this 8 of Swords, we have these, sometimes, every once in a while, we have these mental barriers, right, for a good reason. They help produce some kind of transformation. And they're not necessarily, they're blocks, but they're temporary. And this being, swords, there's a tendency in, sword cards for things to move pretty quickly, to change pretty rapidly. So let's look at what is possible in the change that is going on. Father of Swords, which is King of Swords. So yeah, that's, you know, that's big transformation, right? What looks like being held back right now is in time maturation, cultivation, growth into, you know, wisdom, intelligence, seeing things like really clearly, really like seeing them head on. And so this reading, I would currently look at it as being a description of this process of like, of a kind of parenting, of a style of parenting, or a style of nurturing. And you know, Six of Pentacles implies like it's not, this isn't really an age thing. It's not like, you know, a mother and a child. It's more like what two people bring to each other. They could be friends, they could be partners, they could be just business partners, right? These are two people sort of like offering two different resources, and this is what they give for each other. One gives like a more of a physically present resource. The other is a little more more intellectual, more removed, pulled back, right? But it's a good, equitable relationship. And it's allowing for this transformation to take place, particularly for this Father of Swords figure. This is what they're becoming. Right now, they're in a more, we'll use immature state, right, for lack of a better word. I say it's more immature, but really, like, it's about to, like, this is about to spread its wings. It's not going to stay this way forever. And for that matter, this reciprocation is not going to stay the exact same way forever either. There's going to be a change. And so I want to ask real quick, like, what is this change? Oh, I accidentally pulled. That's the other thing about this deck, is it's a little sticky. But that's okay. Sometimes decks have more to say than you may expect. So what got pulled was Father of Cups, so King of Cups and Ace of Pentacles. So this, sorry, my eye is itchy. Going back to the initial question, right? What is this transformation that's taking place? It's a new beginning, and one that's really centered in like this heart-centered place. Like it's a more emotionally nurturing place. I look at this dynamic, right, and this is a bit more transactional, a little more like, I don't know, like it's a little more business transaction. And this is a little more getting closer to the heart. Sorry, I need to adjust the spread real quick. Yeah, like that. So I think, you know, in this relationship, there is a more emotionally fulfilling thing that's going to happen, and it's going to happen because somebody gets an idea. They have like a big intellectually maturing moment for themselves, and in order for them to sort of like go to the heart, they have to first see it in the head. But it's a big deal. It's a big transformation. I'm going to do one more pull here. What's that? 7 of Cups. Well, it's going to be more than one pull. And it's going to lead to some choices. Some options are going to kind of pop up here. Sevens are often a card of, can be a card of illusion, secrets, blocks, you know, not boundaries, just like there's something in the way, but you can really move past it, if that makes sense. But with 7 of Cups, it's usually about a choice. It's usually about, like, there's some kind of fork in the road happening. And so that would make sense why a King of Swords can look through that and assess, you know, make the analytical choice to go like, oh, do we go this direction or that direction? Which is the way to go? And they may be choosing, do I go more emotional route in dealing with this situation, or do I go a more, you know, just push on through, you know? But this is a card about making a decision, and some big decision needs to be made. Let's look real quick, like, what is the success on this decision? Mother of Swords. So that's Queen of Swords. Queen of Swords is somebody who's a very astute communicator, intellectual, like King of Swords, straight shooter. But the Queen of Swords is a little more, what's the word? Has more tact. The King of Swords can be somebody who's a little bit blunt, a little too direct, a little rude. And they don't mean to be, it's just that they're, you know, they're very much in their head, so like the way they communicate is just very straightforward. Very like, they're just being direct and honest, and that's their version of their form of sincerity. And the Queen of Swords is somebody who can choose their words better. I guess that's the best way of putting it. They're just better at choosing their words. And that makes sense with King of Cups in this reading, right? And the implication that King of Cups offers this new opportunity that improves this reciprocation that's taking place. You know, we started this reading with Mother of Pentacles or Queen of Pentacles, so this is very much like a domestic home situation. So could be your relationship with your roommates, could be, you know, your relationship with your partner or your parents. Somebody in this situation is just going through this process of figuring out how do I communicate what I'm trying to communicate? How do I say what I'm trying to say? Maybe they're worried about like tripping over the words or saying the wrong thing or like offending somebody, right? Like that's all these swords that surround our butterfly to be. And as this person is like figuring it out and working it through and finding the path through, there's very much an obvious path through. Once they figure out how to, it's not just tiptoeing, it's like, oh, this is how I just fly straight through this problem, right? And they take that evolutionary step. What seems like, you know, endless number, an endless array of choices, or an endless array of possibilities that this situation could be resolved, they find that single route. They make it real. And it looks like the way that they're going to make it real is by giving it a more, like, you know, feminine touch, a more caring touch, right? A more sensitive touch. Because Queen of Swords is somebody who is more like a counselor, right? Somebody who is good at listening. This is like an active listener, right? This is somebody who is active listening and taking notes. Maybe even building sort of like a journal on the side, just in secret, just like, okay, well, here's what I noticed about this in this situation. You know, here's what I think's going on here. Maybe, you know, maybe I was too rude in that conversation. Here's what I would have done differently. That's kind of what I get out of this. I think that's pretty much the read. What I really like about this reading too is there's also kind of an implication that king and queen are kind of like two different people, right? And they may see themselves differently, and maybe that's kind of the illusion. Maybe they're more similar than they realize. Like, maybe they're both pretty brainy people. They don't necessarily recognize that. Because maybe sometimes they get caught up into the trap of like, well, really it's more of an emotional problem, right? Like, maybe it's more of a... not realizing like, oh, well, we could just... let's just talk it out. Let's just like... we'll just say everything that needs to be said. Just everything. We'll just say every single thing that needs to be said. Air it, like literally air it out. Vent it. Don't worry about like all the like emotional slings and arrows. And then, you know, that butterfly will spread its wings. All right, I think that's the reading. Well, I hope you have a great rest of your day, evening, whatever's going on for you. And we will do this again soon. All right, have a good one. Bye.